Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Sonia Siddiqui, and joining us today again is Vivian Lee from RBC. Hi, Vivian. Oh, Vivian, you're muted. Okay, I'm not. Okay, perfect. There you are. All right. So thank you, Vivian, for joining us today. In fact, Vivian is actually back to answer a lot of unanswered questions that we've had previously from her webinars. Her webinars are always very, very informative, and they go longer, and then we're not able to answer all the questions. So today she is here to answer all of your questions related to job search in the banking sector. And so before we begin, I just want to make sure that everyone understands how this works today. So please know that you are all on listen only mode, so we won't be able to hear you. But Vivian will take your questions after some of her slides that she's going to go over. And for that, you can type your questions into the Q&A tab, and we'll take questions throughout the webinar. And for best results, please use a laptop or a desktop computer. There is a survey after the webinar. So after the webinar ends, it leads you into the survey page. So please do fill it out. You will get a recording sometime later on today, so you can share it or watch it again. Just to tell you a little bit about ACCESS, we've been around for over 30 years helping job seekers such as yourselves. Just in the past year alone, we were able to serve 34,000 job seekers. We work with over 2,200 employers, also sponsors such as RBC, community partners, and more that we work with. We have over 30 tailored programs, and these include our sector-specific bridging programs that are now being held online. All our services have gone virtual, even though we have 7 locations in the GTA. Right now, everything is online. So please take advantage and call or check out our website if you are suited for one of our programs. Inquire about it, check out an info session, and you can join online, so you don't have to worry about the commute. So Vivian, I'm going to hand it over to you before we get into the Q&A.
Thanks, Sonia, and thanks for having me back. Hello, everyone. My name is Vivian, and I'm from RBC Inclusive Recruitment Team. So, Sonia, if you could go to the next slide, just a few words. Next one. A few words about myself. So I lead a team of a small team within RBC Recruitment, and our mandate is to really reach out to communities and talent, especially talent communities that would traditionally face employment barriers. And we provide job searching support, we make connections, and really also to make sure that we convey the message about RBC's commitment to diversity and inclusion in building our workforce. We also partner with our different recruitment teams within RBC and hiring managers to really raise the awareness of the importance of inclusive hiring. Usually the candidate we connect with are the candidate who are either people from indigenous communities, people who have disabilities, people who are newcomers, visible minorities, people who are from the LGBT communities, and they experience more barriers in their job searching efforts. And we help support those people and try to introduce and bring some to our RBC big family. So a little bit about myself. I am an immigrant as well. I came to Canada 17 years ago. So it was very, very hard in my job searching journey. I came here as an immigrant. I didn't have any experience in the HR field. After I graduated, I volunteered myself in an organization and got an internship afterwards. And from there on, I started my HR career, and right now I'm the senior manager for RBC Inclusive Recruitment. It's really a very, very rewarding role because this allows me to give back to the community and the talent community that really has so much potential, but usually would experience a lot of barriers. And me and my team have done a lot of events with newcomers in the past. We really feel that there's so many talents and that they deserve the support to really launch their career in Canada, and possibly we can have the opportunity to invite some to join the RBC family. So Sonia, if you can go to the next slide, please. A little bit about RBC. If you have attended our webinar in the past, I think this is repetitive information, but I think it's also important to know and to really keep that in mind. This can be also very important when you apply for jobs, when you're in the interview, when people ask you why you want to apply for this role, why do you want to work for RBC? It's always good practice for you to know more about the company and get yourself ready and really align the company's value with your personal value and what you are looking for in your career. So RBC, basically what we're proud of and what I'm going to focus on is not, we're Canada is one of the largest banks. We are, but what we are proud of is, if you look at all those recognitions at the bottom, we got a lot of awards, especially the best diversity employer in Canada. And behind those awards are our 80,000 employees who work so hard and committed to build a diverse workforce, right? We are a global company. Majority of our operations are in Canada. However, we do have operations in Asia, in US, and in Europe, and in South America. So we were actually named Canada's by LinkedIn top companies. Actually, we're named top number 1 in 2019 for Canada. So that really shows our commitment and our strong performance as Canada's leading bank. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about our effort in diversity and inclusion. Sonia, if you could please move to the next one. Thank you. So a little bit more about our so statistics shows the result, right? We support our clients in over 200 languages, and that's one big question that we get asked a lot. Does RBC hire immigrants, right? I don't have Canadian experience. If you really think about it, we hire people who can speak 200 languages, and where do we hire them from? And the people who can speak other languages, they're either the first or second generation immigrants. So we do hire from the community to serve the community, including American Sign Language. That means we have the huge focus on disability inclusion. In a lot of the cultures in the that immigrants come from, if you had a disability, your career or even getting a job is a big no, but that's not in Canada, especially not with RBC. So, we pay more attention to the skills and experience you can bring to the table. And if you had a disability, whether it's visible or invisible disability, we provide the accommodation you need to make sure you're successful in the job. So never, think about it as a barrier. It definitely, I would encourage you to apply. And if you have friends and a family who have visible or invisible disability, definitely encourage them to apply as well. So we provide all the accommodation you need to be successful in your job. RBC has a huge focus on women, and we have over 60% of our workforce that are women. In the last, I would say 10, 15 years, we've been focusing a lot more on promoting and developing women into more senior executive roles. So we're very, very proud that over 40% of our executives are women. And if you are coming from a culture where There's a lack of gender equality. Canada is definitely one of the best country, for women and for your career, to really showcase your talent, and we really evaluate you based on the skills and the knowledge you bring to the table versus the gender, right? So I'm very happy to be one of the big organizations that champion gender equality. 35% of our workforce are visible minorities. So by visible minorities, we mean you're non-white by color and not non-Caucasian by race. So a lot of our immigrant population fall under this. So the Canadian workforce availability for visible minorities are 25 to 28%, and RBC's workforce is way above the workforce availability. In certain areas of our business, over 40% of our workforce are either first or second generation immigrants. So, do not set that barrier in your mind that because you're an immigrant, you do not have an opportunity to work in such a big organization like RBC. Once you joined, you will be invited to join by your personal interest or passion to different employee resource groups. So it can be an employee resource group focusing on women, focusing on cultural diversity, focusing on and just different elements of diversity, right? And you can support and you can come to network. We have a lot of career development events. We also have mentoring opportunities. So, that's after you have joined the RBC family. The last piece I want to really highlight is, and the RBC is ranked number 3 in global top diverse and inclusive companies. And that's last year. This year we are named, we are on one of the top companies again, and we are listed as number 1 in Canada. So Sonia, if you can move to the next slide. Okay, do we have another slide or we're good? We're good. Okay. So I think a few more words on our diversity and inclusion, especially our inclusive effort to support newcomers. As you know that RBC has been hosting this webinar with ACCESS Employment for the last I would say 3 years. 3 years, right? So in addition to those webinars, we hosted events and different workshops with different community partners in the last 3 years. I would say over 50 workshops and events. We supported over 4,000 newcomers, and that's only very, very limited data collection we have on our end, and the initiatives that my team was involved. If you really look at RBC support across the country, there's a lot more events and a lot more newcomers supported through our inclusive hiring approach. Something else I want to mention is we are also the largest host for the Career Edge. There is a Career Edge internship program. It's a third-party vendor we partner with and bring some experienced newcomers into a special internship program. So that's where you get some valuable experience. They're not paid as high as full-time hires. However, the good news is you get some very good experience and you get to network within RBC. So if you're willing to explore that opportunity, I would advise you to Google Career Edge, EDGE, Career Edge, and check out the opportunity. Not only RBC provide internships, there are a lot of good diversity and inclusion companies. Like I was hired through Career Edge when I started job searching in Canada. I was hired into one of the Bell Canada's Career Edge internship. I had an amazing experience, so definitely check that out. Another thing I want to highlight is we have an RBC newcomer meeting place. Right now, because of the COVID situation, our meeting places are hosting virtual events versus in-person events. But that's another I would say, very good commitment from RBC. The purpose of our RBC newcomer meeting place is not to push sales. Hey, do you want to apply in a client card, a credit card with us? But really think from a newcomer's perspective, what does a newcomer need to launch their career or even to start their new life in Canada? So based on the newcomer's need, we would host different events. We'll connect you with different partners. Say it's tax season, maybe you need to know a little bit about how to file tax in Canada. So we would host some special events supporting your effort. So definitely check that out. We currently have two branches. One is in Brampton, the other one is in Markham. So they're hosting a lot of virtual events. So do connect with them and see whether you would be interested in one of those events. So that's about it. I know that we have a lot of frequently asked questions. I want to save the majority of the time to really the meaty part and really provide some tips if I can, based on the knowledge I know, to answer your questions to the best ability. So Sonia, I believe we have some questions that are are already collected. If you could start with some questions, and then we can answer some questions from the candidates.
Sure, Vivian. So the first question that we have here is, as a newcomer in Canada, how do I break the no Canadian experience or no job barrier?
Yeah, okay, so that's, I would say, one of the top questions I get asked by newcomers, right? And I was in that situation as well. So no Canadian experience, no job. And that's a very, very sad situation, right? And there's the two parts. One is as employers, like RBC, we need to educate our own hiring managers. For example, I deliver a lot of remote hiring bias trainings to our hiring managers. Just educate them on the talent we have in the newcomer pool and the value newcomer bring from their global experience. That's one part. The other part is definitely the job seeker. So as a job seeker, when you don't have Canadian experience, how can you break the barrier? I would say number one, definitely encourage everybody to step out of your comfort zone to do the network. Because like it or not, networking is a very, very important part of your job search. And sometimes it can be intimidating, and it's not a part of the culture we came from. Right? We would, for example, in the culture I come from, in a lot of cultures you come from, you would expect that, oh, I studied very hard, I graduated from the top university. Then when I graduate, there are multiple companies lined up at the door and waiting to hire me, right? When you come to Canada, and as a newcomer, the situation might be reversed, and you have to put a lot of effort doing job search. And in Canada, so networking means do not put that negative connotation to network, because it's not mean that you're trying to sell yourself in an inappropriate way. That means that you're trying to showcase what you can do, really present yourself to potential people who might be able to help you, connect with the people who are hiring, connect you with the people in the professional world, so that you get a chance of having an interview, right? Because the fact is, for one job posting, especially with big companies like RBC, and especially with the COVID situation, a lot of companies are not hiring a lot, right? One job posting means around 500 to 1,000 applications, right? And the recruiters might look at your resume for 20, 30 seconds. And to be fair, a lot of resumes are very similar. So with your networking, that would really in how to say creating a situation where recruiters would be able to put a face to your resume. And I remember that person. I was very impressed by the experience they shared. So I want to really have a closer look at the resume and maybe potentially invite that person to interview. And that is exactly the opportunity you have created through networking. How to network? There are different employment agencies like ACCESS Employment. They host a lot of events that connect you with employers. There are social media like LinkedIn. There are volunteer opportunities, and there are some community events that you can connect people. One thing I want to mention is do not expect that after you connect with someone and they would be able to offer you a job immediately. Use this as an opportunity to make that personal connection with another human being, right? Once you are able to make that connection, and maybe there's a job opportunity, someone hear from someone's friends, and and they would be able to refer you. It might be a few weeks later, it might be a few months later. It might be, you already got your first job, but after you worked in that position for 2 years, and this fantastic opportunity showed up and it matched your experience of professional background more than the current job. So you never know when it's going to happen, but I think it's very, very important that you plant that seed and really connect that person at an individual human being level. Okay. Another thing is for some jobs, right? It is mandatory for you to have some Canadian experience. For especially some Canadian designation, right? For example, to work as an accountant, you might as well you might be required to have the CFA designation, and that is equal to everybody. So it's not only for newcomers. If you want to get into that field, you might want to research, see, what are some of the designations I need to. But for others that do not necessarily require the designation, you might want to say, hey, what are some of the similar roles that I have done in my home country, and highlight those in your resumes and interviews. And one more thing, I highlighted career edge again. That's another opportunity for you to build experience, right? It's very, very, I think it can be very helpful that a lot of you might not know. There is this Triad Mentorship, TRIEC. Triad Mentorship connects newcomer mentees with mentors who are already working in the professional field, right? So you might want to apply for a mentorship, and once you get paired up with a mentor who are already working in the professional field, they can make you connect you with more professionals in the field. And if they hear some job opportunities and you have presented yourself as a strong candidate, they would be able to introduce you to potential recruiter and hiring manager. RBC, or a lot of RBCers participate in this mentorship as mentors. So we do hire a lot from those mentorship. In the last few years, we have expanded the mentorship program from Toronto-based only. Initially, it was Toronto-based. Now it's across Canada. So definitely, if you have landed in other regions, check out this mentorship and register yourself with this mentorship. So I'm going to stop here because I know there might be some other questions that I can touch on that point later.
Thank you, Vivian. I'm going to head into the candidates' questions because there's quite a few. And everyone, if we can keep questions related to RBC, working at RBC, then I can help answer those questions. Okay. So, all right. So Vivian, maybe like a most commonly asked question here. I've applied for a position in RBC, but I'm not getting any response.
Yeah, okay. So there are a few scenarios why you applied for RBC and didn't get a response. So I want to share from the back end, right? The RBC, and not only RBC, but just a job application process. How long does it take, right? So it usually takes between 2 to 4 weeks for us to close the requisition. Means when you apply and what is the job posting end date, right? Depending on how urgent we want, we might give 2 weeks, we might give 4 weeks to close the requisition. That means you can only apply within this month, right? And that's a month. And then recruiters will be going through the resumes, and it usually takes recruiters a few weeks to go through resumes. And after recruiters go through the resume, they connect with hiring manager, and hiring managers are doing this interview process out of their daily job. So it's their side desk job, right? So they might have to carve out some time to do the resume reviewing and also interview. So all that adds up. And not to mention, if you apply during summer vacation season or Christmas season, a lot of people are on vacation, either recruiter or hiring manager. So that adds up. The average time for us to make a hire from we post the job to make a hire, it's between 2 months to even maybe 6 months, depending on the position, right? So the average is 2 to 3 months. So that's the thing. And the other thing is, after you apply, it might, it's very, very often that you don't not even hear back from recruiter after, say, 3 to 4 weeks, because we are reviewing all the resumes. Sometimes you get a recruiter respond right away because the recruiters might happen to be working on that requisition. And mind you, each recruiter have between 20 to 50 requisition they're working on simultaneously. Right? So one requisition has 300, 500, 1,000 resumes, and they have another 20 to 50 requisitions to work on. So that really all adds up of why candidates are anxiously waiting and they do not hear back. So it's very, very normal that you do not hear back within 2 to 3 weeks. Another scenario is, unfortunately, because of the very a lot of candidates apply and a lot of good candidates, you do not get selected to move to the next round. You should hear back from us within maybe 2 months. Say you're either moved forward to the next stage or you are declined, right? That's the scenario. So once you are, say, you're invited to the interview and you didn't hear back, and at that stage, most of the time, you already got your recruiter contact information, and you might also get the hiring manager contact information, right? So when you're in the interview, it's within your right. And please do ask, what should I expect for the next step? And the hiring manager will say, oh, you will hear back from us within 2 weeks or within a week. We should let you know whether you're selected to the we would make an offer or you are selected the next to move to the next stage. So in those situations, definitely feel free to connect with the recruiter and follow up. Be professional, and you say, I understand it takes some time to make the decision. I just want to follow up on what is the next step, whether I'm selected to move to the next stage of the recruitment process. So definitely feel free to follow up. If you don't get response, follow up. You maybe give them a few days. Follow up another time next week, and that's totally okay. So do not hold back when you're anxiously waiting, right? So that's something that I want to share from the back end. Sonia,
Thank you, Vivian. Yeah, so next question here is a lot of people might not have a background in finance. Are they still able to work at RBC? Like what kind of roles could they apply to where it doesn't require them to be to have a background in finance?
Yeah, that's a very good question because when from the outsider perspective, they say, "Oh, RBC is a bank, so you have to have finance background, right?" I don't have finance background because there are different business segments, right? So there's personal and commercial banking, there's wealth management, there's capital markets, and there's investor and treasury services, and those are our business segments. But there are also a lot of support segments. For example, there's our technology and operations. I don't know whether anybody knows that RBC is the second largest IT employer in Canada. The top employer is the government, right? So we're the number one private employer. So we hire the most IT professionals because we need, RBC is a technology-enabled bank. We need a lot of IT professionals, and we need a lot of support, back-end support, like HR, like communications, like marketing. So you don't necessarily have to have the finance background to work in RBC. Just check our job board. We post a lot of majority of our jobs with share externally. With the COVID situation, we do save some job for internal employees only because we really want to show our care and support to our employees. We do not want to, we have made a commitment to not to lay off any employee in 2020. So a lot of our openings are reserved for internal only. However, we do have a lot of openings that are open to external as well. Usually, if it's not the COVID situation, over 95% of our jobs are shared externally. So that's, that's one thing. So do apply. And the other thing is, if you don't have finance background, if you're interested in client service, like a client-facing roles, if you have any sales experience or customer service experience, that's the thing we are looking for, because we can train you on our products and services once you get hired. However, that that ability to build a relationship with our customers, that's something that we're looking for in you. So I hope I answered the question, and the answer is you can definitely apply for RBC roles even if you don't have banking or finance experience.
Thank you, Vivian. That was very well answered. So this is kind of like a part two. I know you mentioned like what skills are are required for newcomers to get a job in the bank. Like maybe you can focus a little bit about business communication in the Canadian workplace.
Yeah, skills and experience, that's a very, very broad question because there are so many different roles, thousands of roles, and different roles that they require different, different skills and experience, right? But from soft skill perspective, I want to highlight something that every hiring manager is looking for, right? One is the growth mindset. One is, basically you need to, not only apply to what you already know, but also very, very open to learn about the new knowledge and get new experience on the job, right? Be open, very, very open-minded. That's, if I know when I apply for the job, I only know maybe 50 to 60%, but I'm very willing to learn a lot more, maybe sometimes even beyond what's mandated in the current rule. That's very important, right? Because, everything is evolving so fast in the AI technology, maybe a lot of roles will be eliminated in the future. So you have to have that growth mindset to adapt yourself to the new workforce skills needed in the future. And the other thing is really have that, team approach, right? Really be able to collaborate, show that you are able to support the team, really help the team achieve its impact. And those are all very, very important messages that you want to send when you're in the interview setting, right? And also adapt that Canadians' diversity and inclusion mindset, with what recently happened in in the States, the George Floyd situation. Diversity and inclusion is becoming more and more important, and that means it's not only the diversity and inclusion mindset on the employer part, but also on the job candidate part. Would you be able to work with a diverse team, right? If you are a people leader, what is your inclusive leadership style? Would you be able to build a team and lead a team to create impact? But the team are from different cultures, different religious background, different perspectives and experiences. How do you build that team? That's a lot of situations will be included in the interview questions, right? I want to give you an example which I mentioned in my last webinar, and that's a very, very common scenario, right? So say if you are from a country or a culture where females are discriminated, right? And you're invited to an interview, and it's a panel interview. There's a female hiring manager and there's a male hiring manager, right? The female hiring manager asks you some question, and this is a real story. The candidate in that scenario did not even look at the female hiring manager. The candidate responds the question directly to the male hiring manager. So the candidate, throughout the whole interview, the candidate totally ignored the female hiring manager. I only respond and look at the male hiring manager. Do you think this candidate will get hired? You have to represent the value of Canada and the value of this company you're applying for. So the RBC's value of inclusion and diversity and the gender equality, right? You have to embrace that value first. So that, I think, is going to be more and more important when you're, apply for a job. So those are the three key points that came to my mind, but definitely there are a lot of other soft skills that we're looking for. For example, the ability to build that personal connection when you are applying for the customer service and the relationship building roles. So I'm going to stop here because I know there are a lot of other questions as well.
Thank you, Vivian. Another question is for Career Edge. Is that only for fresh graduates or students? How does that work?
So Career Edge had a few different categories, right? One is for newcomers. So you're a skilled newcomer, and it's very hard for you to get the first experience in your professional field. So that's, any newcomer who are looking for an experience in their professional field, you can apply for that category. The other category is a new grads. So you, some of our newcomers, they choose to go to school first, and then you freshly graduate from the school, and you don't have any experience, and you're competing with someone who already have worked in the field for many years. So that's another category we support new grads. It can be either a newcomer going to school and graduate. It can also be some university students and who grew up in Canada and they just graduated. They don't have any real work experience in the Canadian workplace. And the other category is for persons with disabilities. We understand that persons with disabilities have a lot of barriers and challenges when they want to enter their workforce, but we also understand that there's a lot of great talent, right? So we want to support those individuals who have a disability and they're looking for opportunities in the workplace. So those are the three big categories. You can apply based on your personal experience and make a choice of which category you apply. A lot of times when we post a job, we are open to all three categories, and based on the top candidate when we choose. It might be the newcomers that became the the best candidate. It might be because the new grad that is the best candidate. So I hope I was able to explain this, but feel free to connect with the Career Edge if you're not sure about which category you should apply, and they would be able to provide you the recommendation.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, just going through this. I think you've answered a lot of questions under other question categories. Oh, do they need to have a cover letter for all job applications?
I would say no. I would say no. So this is, I know that it takes a lot of time for you to draft a cover letter, right? For some high volume roles, I don't believe the recruiter look at a cover letter. It's more the resume that matters. However, if you say, oh, this is my dream job, I really, really want to do it. I really want to get attention. So do spend some time on the cover letter. The cover letter will need to be customized, and it's I would say it's more of an additional opportunity for you to promote yourself to recruiters and hiring managers. But I would say not all hiring managers and recruiters look at your cover letter. So for example, me as a hiring manager, I a lot of the roles I post are not high volume roles. And to do the job in my team, I do want someone who has a passion, and I want to give them the opportunity to let me know why they're interested in the role. So I do look at people's cover letter. I pay more attention when when I have a few shortlisted candidates, and I want to if I cannot decide which one I'm going to choose, or I have two top candidates, I do not know at this point which one would be a better fit. So I would read their cover letter very, very carefully and see, oh, this person applied for a job because of A, B, C, and D, and that person applied for a job maybe because of RBC and because of the role. So really it's your personal choice. My advice is spend energy and time on those roles that you're extremely passionate about, that you feel that you have a shot. A cover letter is cherry on top, or is as one additional element that you can use to present yourself. It's more like when you're doing sales, it's more like that piece of advertisement that can add to your thick brochure, which is your resume.
Thank you, Vivian. Yeah. How easy is it to switch departments in RBC? So if someone has a background in IT and they end up getting a customer service role, would they be able to move into IT after that?
They can definitely. So RBC is a huge company. So I was actually able to move from IT to HR. When I first joined RBC, I was hired into a shared services in our technology and operation. But because of my background, I was able to move into the HR role. I would definitely say it's easier once you are in the company, because you have access to different departments and you're able to network from within, right? But I would say it definitely takes a lot of effort on your own to network, to reach out to different people, so you kind of have a coffee chat. It's more likely when you are inside, you're an RBC employee, for you to get opportunity to network, right? But still, it takes a lot of personal effort and the time, and you need to take charge of your career, because it's not like someone else is going to reach out to you. Hey, Vivian, do you want to work for my department? No, it's still you making that effort and making that connection, and to keep that connection going, because that person might not have the job for you for the next 3 months, but it's your responsibility to keep that keep that relationship alive, right? So that in the future, when they have opportunity, they will think of you. Can we, we can move on to the next one.
Next question is, does RBC use the applicant tracking system to select candidates?
Yeah, so that's a question we get asked a lot. We do use an AI tool to select candidate for certain high volume roles. So first is we do not use the AI to, excuse me, to select all of our roles, but for some high volume roles where we're able to very comparatively easily define the attributes we're looking for in the candidate, like skills and experience, right? We use an AI tool to help us shortlist and screen some resumes, but recruiters still go through the resumes for majority of our roles. So if you say, oh, I'm going to highlight all those keywords in my resume so that the machine will pick up, I would say for some roles, the machine will look at those key experiences, but for other roles, it's still selected by recruiter manually. If you're, you cannot just blindly insert those keywords and without you don't have the real experience and expect it to be selected by recruiter.
Thank you. Is it important to have a CSC designation to enter a bank in Canada?
So first of all, it really depends on whether, when you look at job posting, right? You look at, say, RBC, we have the must-have category, right? If that designation is listed as a must-have, then you have to have it to be invited to interview, right? But if it's listed as a nice to have, that means it's not mandatory that you have that designation. However, having that designation will put you at a more favorable condition or situation compared to other candidates. So nice to have means, okay, so if we have 10 candidates and all 10, like 9 of them, they don't have the designation and 1 had the designation, we would give preference to the 1. But we would also look at the other, the experiences of other candidates. And even if they didn't have the designation, we would still take that into consideration, because most likely when we put that designation in the nice to have category, we would allow you to really learn and get that designation after you get hired. Right? So if you have other skills and experience that are more important to the hiring manager, we would also take you into consideration. However, it's preferable if you get that designation after you get hired. So I hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Vivian. One last question we have is, can you walk us through the recruitment process at RBC from application to what happens in the back end and what people can expect?
Yeah, for sure. So when we post job, right, like I mentioned very briefly, and under normal situation and circumstances, over 95% of jobs are posted both internally and externally, and our external candidate have a very good, have the equal opportunity like internal candidate to apply. So definitely pay attention to our job site. We have a job site, job at rbc.com. You can search for job and apply there. And we also post our jobs on some job board like LinkedIn. Sometimes our recruiter would share the roles they're hiring on LinkedIn. So definitely follow certain recruiters and make sure that you don't miss the job that you apply, right? So in job posting, we do ask some diversity questions. Those are the questions that you can choose not to respond. So we want to make sure that we reach out to diverse community and we have a good diverse candidate pool. And we want to monitor our effectiveness of our diversity efforts. So that's why we ask you, what's your gender? Are you a visible minority? Are you from the LGBT group? Do you have a disability? And are you a person from indigenous community. So those answers are kept extremely confidentially within recruitment. And do not worry that if you answer, you will be put at a disadvantage, right? So we keep a very high confidentiality of the answers, and even if say you disclose it, just for example, you have a disability and need accommodation, that information will be kept very confidentially. Maybe it will be shared with the hiring manager, because the hiring manager needs to be involved to get your accommodation in place. However, it will not be shared broadly with the team. So I want to make sure that's clear. And once you applied, and recruiter would say invite you to interview, should be you become shortlisted candidate, right? For certain roles, we would invite you to do some assessment, online assessment. Most of the time is high volume roles. Like our client advisor, our banking advisor, our call center roles, and we would select the candidate based on whether it's a right, you have the right attributes that would allow you to, most likely allow you to be successful in the job. So even if sometimes you fail the assessment, that means that you are not suitable for this job. However, you can be very suitable for other roles. So you failed in this assessment, never stop. You can still apply for other jobs. Say, for example, you have IT background, and for some reason you decided to apply for customer service roles, and then you failed the assessment. That does not mean you cannot apply for IT roles, because IT roles might be a better fit for you, right? So that's one thing. And for other roles, really depends on the hiring manager. We might not send you assessment. So it's basically recruiter goes through the resumes, and they review the resume. They would select between say 5 to 10 or 20 top candidates, and they would go through the first phase of the interview with you. Usually it's over the phone, or now it's through maybe WebEx. They have the virtual interview with you. And it's really have an understanding of your background and experience, right? And recruiter, based on their own evaluation after the interview, they would present you to the hiring manager. The recruiter will shortlist, and based on their evaluation, they will do further shortlist and present the final candidate group to the hiring manager. And sometimes the hiring managers want to do all the interviews themselves, and that happens, right? But in most scenarios, recruiters do the first round of interview, and they present to hiring managers. Hiring manager interview usually is done face-to-face. Due to COVID, it's all moved to virtual, right? So make sure that you check some tips and advice how you get yourself ready for virtual interview, right? And most of the time, we would have just one hiring manager interview, and they make hiring decision. However, for certain roles and for certain, depending on the hiring manager, right? They might invite other hiring managers to do a panel interview. Panel interview means that you are in this interview with not only one hiring manager, but maybe 2 or maybe 3, right? And it can be nerve-wracking sometimes because you have to juggle and answer this hiring manager, answer that hiring manager. That make sure that you just think through each question and do not have to rush the answer, right? And you are absolutely okay to take a pause and reflect and answer, and then to see whether any other hiring managers have any other questions. But the good thing about the panel interview is it allows us to make a more objective decision, because the hiring managers might come from different perspective, different background, different culture, right? And they might make some decision or evaluate you based on their perspective. When all the hiring managers come together and evaluate one candidate, it allows us to get to a more, I would say, objective decision. So it should be beneficial for, I would say, newcomers, especially, help us address some of our potential unconscious bias and select the best candidate for the role, right? So say you are, you're very successful, you get over all the hiring manager interview, now it's at the offer stage. So we would usually provide you the conditional offer. So say congratulations, you're the top candidate. We're willing to offer you this on the condition that you pass the background check. The background check is something that you have to go through. Every candidate need to go through. Usually include the experience and education check. So based on the contact information you provide, we will reach out to your previous employer and check, okay, did this person work in this company, and they exit the company with high performance, right? And it's more of a historical record check, right? We don't really talk to anybody. We check is it true that you work in this company and you are not dismissed because of low performance, or there's no concern in your performance, and you actually attend the school, you graduated from this. Sometimes newcomer will ask, oh, it will take some time to connect. Maybe my previous company would not respond, and it will make me not eligible anymore. Don't worry about that. If we couldn't reach your previous employer or your school, we would come back to you and ask for the alternative contact person. So that's the experience side. One thing I want to highlight is never lie. Do not lie and do not provide false information. I know sometimes we say, oh, I really want the job. I want to never make up some experience. And even the job title, put in your original job title. And if you realize, okay, my original job title, say I was a customer service rep, right? In the company, RBC is looking for a client advisor. And these two jobs are exactly the same. It's just called two different names. What can you do is in your resume, right? On your job title, you put the original job title and you put in the bracket your RBC's job title equal to RBC client advisor job, right? And that's very, very self-explanatory, but do not make up a job. See, I work as my original job title is customer service rep, but I replace that title to RBC job title. And then we go to your original company and your company said, we never had that job. So that would get you into some difficult situation, right? But never make up an experience. It's not worth it, because once you fail this background check because of integrity issues, this will be recorded on the back end, right, in our records. Any employer any future hiring manager will be very, very hesitant, very highly unlikely that you will be offered another job in RBC. So integrity is very, very important. The other thing we check is a criminal background check. Of course, that's very, very important, right? We want to make sure that your record is clean. Another thing that we check is a credit check. So for newcomers, you might say, I come to Canada, I don't have a lot of credit history, it's unfair. We do not really check your credit history, but what we check is you are not involved in any fraud-related activities. And you can imagine that as a bank, we don't want anybody who's involved in fraud activities to be hired into RBC, because we treat it very, very seriously to protect our client information and really provide the client services with integrity and honesty, right? So those are the things that we check. And then we might give you an offer and we get asked a question, oh, can I evaluate? Can I negotiate the salary? You can negotiate the salary, but really give it a range. When we say, okay, what's your salary expectation? You can, at the interview or later on, you can give a range. If the hiring manager has the budget, right, they would have a range to work with. If it's within their range, if your experience and the skills are exactly what they're looking for, they might be open to salary negotiation. If you don't think it's fair, it's within your right to give back a counter, salary expectation, right? So it's really up to you to decide whether you want to negotiate, but you definitely have the right to negotiate. So I know we're at time. I'm going to stop here, and I hope I answered your questions today.
Thank you so much, Vivian. Very, very, very informative as usual. You were able to answer a lot of questions. We would love to have you back. I'm sure you're coming back next month with another webinar. But thank you all for watching. I just want to quickly, I know we don't have a lot of time, just going to go over what's next. The next webinar coming up is on Monday, October 19th, how to rock your next virtual interview. So in this day and age, we do need to perfect our virtual interview skills. So please join in and we'll see you then. And for people who are interested in taking our bridging programs, as I mentioned, luckily you can just take them online. You don't have to commute. Look into it, check out our website. If you want to watch other webinars that were hosted previously, they're all on our YouTube channel. Including our RBC past webinars as well, or you can check out eaccess.accessemployment.org, where we have tons of past webinars and other job search resources that you can check out as well. And if you'd like to practice your English conversation skills, you can join our online Talk English Cafe, accessemployment.ca/Talk English Cafe. It happens every day at different times. So see what best suits you and join in for a nice conversation. And if you'd like to speak to a consultant who can start helping you with your job search, please call your closest Access location so we can start helping you. And for people who are on their way to Canada in a few months, email cec@accessemployment.ca to see if you'd be eligible for our Canadian Employment Connections program, and we can start helping you with your job search before you arrive in Canada. And again, thank you so much. There's a survey at the end of the webinar. Please do complete it, and you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook to see what's going on at ACCES. And there's always a lot going on at ACCES, so stay tuned for new upcoming events that are coming up. And Vivian, a very big thank you once again. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Sonia, for inviting me again, and I hope everybody, have I would say the best luck in your job search. And I know in COVID situation, it's not very, very easy for you to land interview, but I would say keep your hope on and be patient. Really allow yourself some time, and I hope the situation will get better.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.